Is a portmanteau between the words professional and dominatrix.
Okay.
And so those two words get smashed together and you get prodom. And it is a form of sex work, but there's a common misconception that prodoms perform sex acts on their client, which is not the case. I'm not taking my clothes off. I'm not engaging in any kind of like naked activities with the clients. A lot of times this is again another service that is providing a catharsis for people who oftentimes don't have that outlet. And so people can be in very powerful positions and they're having to run things all day and they get to come into this space and get that time with me, and during that time they're not in charge of anything.
They get dominated.
At all.
Sit down.
Sit. No.
So I have a question. So is there like a consultation before you guys even start that kind of?
Yes.
As to what they want, and y'all have like pineapple safe words or something? Like, how does that work?
Yes. So practicing any kind of BDSM activities, it is so important that you are doing so safely and that you understand what the guidelines look like for both you and for your client in some cases, or in some cases that person is your partner. Whatever the relationship is, you need to know that you have full consent to do whatever it is that's going to happen in that session, that they have an idea of what to expect, and that they're not walking into a situation that they're not going to be prepared for, or that you aren't going to be prepared for. Sometimes people ask for things that does require skill, like shibari, which is rope bondage, or putting people in uncomfortable positions for very long periods of time. Sometimes you're dealing with food situations, or they're doing manual labor, and depending on what their needs are, And so
I know.
Yeah.
So what's like I don't even know if you're allowed to say, but like, what's one of the craziest things you had to do?
I would never say have to do, because I don't have to do anything.
Right.
And it's like that's so I get people will come to me, and these people, like, usually they're called subs, which stands for submissives, and these are people who are coming, and what they're doing is giving over their power to me. I'm in charge of it. I'm holding on to it. I'm going to create a scenario for them that ultimately will actualize parts and aspects of their fantasy that they're not able to have actualized elsewhere. So maybe they're the eldest son in a very traditional conservative family, and maybe they also enjoy wearing women's clothing or wearing lace, and that is extremely taboo. They can't go and say, "Hey, Dad, guess what?
Right.
I know that I'm running this multi-million-dollar company, but in my spare time, I like to wear lace thongs." No, they don't bring that to their parents. They bring that to someone like myself, and I take that information, and from that, I ask them what are they looking for? What's safe territory for them? What are their hard no's? Hard no's are things that they do not want to happen under any circumstances. And for most people, a hard no. Some people don't like to see feet at all. Some people don't want to be called certain words. Some people don't want to be spit on. Some people don't want to be hit or impacted. And there are people who want that.
Really?
And so what you're doing is you're setting up that expectation, and you're setting up that guideline. And in that same sense, there are things that I personally don't do, or that I'm not comfortable doing. And if somebody comes to me like with a fetish or a kink that is outside of my realm of comfort, like, I will refer them to someone else who is able to provide that need to
I
them.
feel more comfortable with
So,
Yeah.
so are you there? I know you were probably in the room with them by yourself, possibly, but or is there some source of protection for you?
So there's a very tight-knit kink community that exists. And for me personally, I'm going into a session either with a very large buff male assistant, or I'm going into a session with a very large buff female assistant. And if I've built up and established that relationship, like, yes, we can have that one-on-one time. But if you're coming to me, this is my first time working with you. I don't necessarily know who I'm working with, what I'm getting into, where that line is for you, or what you think that you're walking into. And so that's kind of the first consultation, is talking about that, working through those things, and then coming to a conclusion where we both say, okay, I can provide this to you. Are you ready for that? And like, let's talk about that. Or is this something that you gradually want to work up to? And it doesn't have to be in person. Sometimes it is online. I do have clients in Italy that I provide these services to. And so they heard about me the same way that people hear about my massage services. They hear that I'm really good at what I do, and word of mouth gets around. And so...
So how did you get involved with this? And do you service men and women, or how?
Yes. Again, I provide my services to people of all genders, and people who identify as no gender. And gender play is actually one of my specialties when it comes to my work as a pro dom. So there are a lot of different categories. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have heard about financial doms. Like, that term has been going around. Fin doms. No? No one here at the table has heard of that? Okay.
Yes.
So
Let's hear about the financial dom.
a financial dom is someone who is controlling another person's finances. And so this is someone who's coming in and they want to be used for their money. And they know that. They're coming into that situation specifically for that. And I know that a lot of articles have been going around because people, like regular vanilla people, are hearing more and more about different kink and BDSM topics. And what they like to hear about most is like the weirdest sex things and the things that involve lots of money. And so, yeah, they don't hear about the stuff in between.
Right.
But
So do these people come in alone, or do they have
you can come in as a
fantasies
couple. You
that-
can. So some people come in by themselves. For some people, it's a thing that they're doing as a couple. And so they'll come in as a husband and wife pair, as a wife-wife pair, as a husband-husband pair, or as even like a polycule or a group dynamic. And so depending on, like, there are really infinite numbers of possibilities that can go on
Whatever
here.
people
that-
think of.
Basically, whatever people think of, as long as it is legal within the realms of the law, as long as it is something that every single adult in that room is consenting to, and as long as it is something that we have our safe word built. Are you?
Financial dom.
I'm like, where?
I want to show somebody finance.
Right.
That's what we're all stuck on.
Right, we all stuck on that. How does that work?
So I remember you told me before about a website where you can find like you and your other community for people who do want your services. What is that?
So that website is called fetlife.com, and honestly,
PHAT or FAT?
Fet, as in fetish
Fet.
lifestyle.
Oh,
Fet life, another
Fet
portmanteau. But it is
Don't
very
be trying
difficult.
to look it up.
It is very difficult to find people through there, and a lot of people that use the site use it mainly for networking with people that they've already met in person. And so it's kind of like Facebook but for kinksters.
So is it something that you do, or you just kind of manage it, or do people come in and actually, or are there sexual activities going on in that space, or what?
There can be. It's not always sexual, but there can be sexual activities involved. For example, we could be doing chastity work.
Chastity
which
work,
is preventing, in the case of women, that is like preventing them from getting anywhere close to like a climax during the session, or they're not allowed to touch themselves. They're not allowed to like stimulate themselves sexually at all. They just have to like hands off, sit there and be uncomfortable with it. And for men, a lot of times there's so many things that you can do. You can take a rope and tie it around to the back so that they can't rise to any occasion. You can put a cage on it. And the cage can even come with a little lock and a key.
Oh my gosh.
And so there are all different kinds of things that can happen. And so some of those things, like obviously, people that are coming in here are coming because that is maybe their fetish. Right. They might have had some kind of connection related to that. And so then now or maybe it's something that they've just been thinking about over and over and over again. And they haven't met somebody that's like, you know what, I'll do that. Because a lot of times people are very scared to try new things in the bedroom. And this is kind of a safe space for them to be able to practice out those fantasies without it being sex. And then kind of go from there and take it wherever they're going to take it, either into a relationship or they can take it into their professional lives. Maybe it's something that's been bothering them for a very long time. Maybe they feel like they're not getting any kind of like nurturing in their personal lives. And so they're coming to me for that. Like it's not always sexual stuff. Sometimes what ends up happening is that they're sitting there in the corner of the room coloring in a coloring book for that hour. And I'm supervising.
They pay you for that.
Yeah.
Wow, so this is some really, really interesting stuff. And as a result of this conversation, I'm going to go to the D. Mahone School and see if I can get my degree, my certification.
I'm writing
But,
my tips down for my
You've
marriage.
been tuned into the Naked Podcast. Yes. It's not what you think. But from this conversation today, it might be. You
don't know what you're tuning into.
You never know. You never know.
Depending on the
Right, exactly.
So we've been here tuned in with Dee Mahone, our guest. She's a super fabulous, fantastic lady that does some non-traditional things to help people cope in whatever way they deem that they need to cope.
She's awesome.
In the way that they cope. We've been here with Miss Nikita McClure, and they had a little poetry slam, and both of them were phenomenal.
She won.
Phenomenal poets.
I'm giving it to her.
Amazing. Yes.
She's
And,
from the blah, blah, blah.
And we're here also with Shalonda, a.k.a. Lonnie Mack.
Yeah.
Yeah. The great Lonnie Mack. And also with Shaniqua.
Hello.
Who is
I
a
learned
good
so much
actress.
today.
Shaniqua Staples.
Yes.
And she's related to the Staples singer, so don't get mad. She's
I know, right?
she's from a
No
gospel
gospel plug
background.
right
But I can plug, she's a good actress, everyone. Just by the way.
You'd be surprised, girl.
now. Yes.
I would not.
You never know.
So I always wanted to. Oh, we're out of time. So thanks for tuning into the Naked Podcast on TAN TV, the African American Network. We have a local feel and a global reach. And boy, if y'all don't see this show, you better tell some friends about this show.
Right.
This was a good
This
one.
is going to be great.
I learned so much, y'all.
I did too. I really did. Thank you, ma'am.
Follow us on TAN TV. You know, y'all can check out the Naked Podcast on Roku, all Android devices, Apple devices, Fire Stick, and online at www.tan.tv. So check us out.